So normally I like to joke and laugh a lot. It's just how I am. It's how I deal with things. This book is dark, and this video is kind of, it covers suicide, veteran suicide, and this book it's dark. This is a dark video. There is my
Good
warning.
afternoon, I am the Mainly Digger, and this video is not about metal detecting or drones or anything else I do. This video is about a book. Please stay and watch. It's an amazing book. I can't put it down. I had to put it down to record this video, so we'll see how this goes. I don't know how long this video is gonna take me to make, because it's an amazing book. The book is called
Baqubah, Bones and Blood by Aaron Lee Marshall, who's also he did the artwork too. I'll throw some pictures in here of his art, which is mostly graphic stuff. It's all graphic, like it's graphic, but it's graphic novel type stuff.
I would suggest reading this if you want to know what Iraq was like, what being a soldier was in Iraq. This is the book to read. Absolutely, without a doubt. There's nothing left out. There's nothing left out. Amazing. It's an amazing book. So the author, Aaron Marshall, is someone I went to high school with a long time ago. I went to Dixfield for about 6 months, Dixfield, Maine, and that's where the Reboot guys, the Operation Reboot guys are from, Ann Waite and Aberdeen. They're all from that school. It's just interesting. I'll explain that later. I'll go explain the story.
Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. There's nothing really to explain. We went to high school. I was there for 6 months, and Dan and Abe were on the wrestling team, so I got to know them pretty well. And Aaron was in. I didn't really know.
This book is. I'm still reading it. Like I said, I haven't finished it yet. I had to cut myself off and be like, okay, you got to make a video. But it's an amazing look at what soldiers in that area in Baqubah went through. Baqubah is obviously in Iraq. It is in the Diyala province. Most of you have no idea where that is and don't really care. But during that time, he was there in 2004. I was there in 2007. It's that time the U.S. and coalition forces were pushing the insurgents and the insurgencies to a certain area, which was Baqubah. So it was like he was there first. It was bad. It was a bad time. It was a bad time when I went, and I went a couple years after.
When I said graphic, I really meant it's graphic. Like Aaron holds nothing back. And here he's talking about how they had to take care of a body, and I didn't do the whole comic. Here are some of the log books from Aaron's book that he put in there. It's a visual representation of how much violence was in Baqubah at that time. And in the book he describes what it's like to live day in and day out with the feeling of death, like you're gonna die, like something bad is gonna happen. And I could put log books from 2007 and they would look exactly like this. During that time, that whole period of time, Baqubah was the Wild West. And what I mean by that is that there were shootings, there were gangs, there were insurgents, there were gangs of insurgents all over the city. It was the Wild West. If you spoke out, if you're an Iraqi and you spoke out against the insurgency, you're losing your head. Your body's going to be somewhere else other than where it should be, and your head's going to be like in a ditch. It was a crazy time. It was a crazy
it's interesting to see, or interesting to read about this, because for years I've wanted to write my experiences down, and I tried to sit down on a computer or you try to make notes, and I just can't. It's one of those things I can't do. I can't put pen to paper. Like I can do a lot of stuff. I can write paperwork for days. I could, you give me a topic, I could talk for days. But getting myself to write that information down, write those memories down, I can't do it.
Like I said, I'm not going to show the whole picture of this graphic, but that it happens. Like you see something and you have to deal with it, and you find ways to deal with it. It's amazing the experiences that you forget. Like this, I remember doing this, and like I forgot about it until I read this. Until I read this book, I was like, oh, I used to do that all the time.
I am the manly digger.
I can't make it. I don't know. Anyway, this book it made it. That's what happened. Like that's actually what happened, and it's an amazing look into Baqubah, like Baqubah itself. Something, and it's affected me. It's affected my time in the military, my career, me, and it's affected me, I think, in a good way. And in the book, Aaron goes over some of the effects that it's had on him, some of the issues that it's caused for him. And in the end, he's like, I survived. That's what matters. That's, survived. Everything will get better. And man, I look back, and even after I got off active duty, and some of the stuff he talks about, I can see myself doing that. I never did some of the stuff he talked about, obviously, but like I could see myself in that position, or in that situation, or headed down that direction. It's interesting. Like one of the better books I've read in a long, long time. I don't really read books that much anymore, unless the research. But this book, without a doubt, is outstanding. So in the book, he jumps around, kind of not to where it's confusing, but he pretty much starts off at the beginning. He doesn't start off at the beginning, but it goes with him from, because he had joined the National Guard, and he was actually in a medical unit in New Hampshire when the medical unit was changed to an MP unit. They went down to Fort Dix, and they learned how to be MPs. So they got and then they went to Iraq. So they learned how to be MPs. They learned how to be combat MPs, and then they went to Iraq. So they learned about how to fight in the desert in a cold climate, in snow. So they learned how to fight in the heat in negative temperatures. And I've experienced this myself in the Army. He didn't really receive the best training, or the training that he should have. So he describes that. He describes some of the situations and tells some stories about going from Fort Dix to Atlanta. He talks about seeing 50 Cent in the airport, which is cool. And then to Kuwait. And it just, some of the stories, like it just brings it back, like going to Kuwait, landing in Kuwait, the smells of Kuwait. You land there normally at night, and regardless, it's hot. So when you get there, you're like, oh my God, this is miserable. And then when you actually go into Iraq, and you go to wherever you're going, you're like, oh, I wish I was in Kuwait again. This isn't that bad, or Kuwait wasn't that bad. But it's the stories that Baqubah for me was the worst and the best time. Like it really was. I excelled as a soldier in Baqubah. I was worth something in Baqubah. Absolutely chaotic. And that's kind of what his book shows, is that you're put in these extraordinary situations, and you have to think, what do I do next? what, what does my training say? Well, you weren't trained. He was, I think it was artillery. So he's trained how to use his weapon. There's a difference in training, but even in the active, from reserves to active duty, there's a completely different set of training. And guaranteed this is in '04. So their push was to get soldiers over there. Doesn't matter if they're well trained or not. Doesn't matter if that was your MOS. We'll give you a little bit of training, but yeah, okay, we'll send you out to a war zone. Anyway, I'll tell more. I'll give my experience after I tell you his story. Like, I would definitely suggest you read this book. There's so many things, and I'm still finishing up. I stopped and I read some more because I wanted, like, there's so much in there that I can relate to. And if you're a soldier and that you want something to read, it's so relatable. I mean, if you want to know what Iraq was like, this is Iraq. Being at an MP station or being at a police station, how many hours I stood at pulling guard duty at a station or outside of a police station, or at the side of an IED explosion in a Humvee, waiting for somebody, or if an IED, or waiting for the explosive detail, EOD. I'm not trying to use acronyms, to get there to take care of the explosive. Like, you're talking like a 4 or 5 hour wait, because they're busy, because it's Baqubah and they have a lot of IEDs to deal with. From clearing, like, it's just interesting. For me, it's probably one of the most relatable war or books about war I've read, because I've been there, I've seen it. The stuff he talks about, like, when I got back, I tried to tell people, hey, this is this, that is that, and like, yeah, whatever, man, okay. The training, or how he was trained, he was talking about how when they went through this training, they were trained by people who maybe had a little to no combat experience, but that is what they were training, so they were an expert on it. And that's so how the military is. That's so how the Army is. Yeah, we'll give you somebody, and they're the subject matter expert, and they've never actually experienced. They've never been in these situations. So long story short, I just did a video of this, and it lasted like eight minutes, like 10 minutes of me talking about me. I'm not trying to make this about me, even though this is my story. I enlisted in the Army. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, went to college, decided that wasn't for me. It was a year and a half. Best thing that happened to me is I met my wife. I got married and joined the Army and was sent to Fort Hood. So because I was prior infantry, they're like, you don't need any training at all. We're gonna send you. This is in '07. This is right during the insurgency, or not the insurgency, where they were just pushing soldiers out. So they're like, we need you. I was like, cool, awesome. I'll sign the contract. So I signed the contract, went to Fort Hood for like a month, where I got training. And the whole time I'm like, dude, I haven't done anything infantry for years, man. Nothing infantry for years. And like, don't worry about it, don't worry. You get some training, and then when you go in country, you'll get training there. I was like, cool. So I get sent to Baqubah. I go to Kuwait, and I go to Balad, and then from there, I forgot where we fly. We probably flew to Baqubah because there's an airport there. And yeah, it was just, I'm just gonna say it was on the job training. You got probably a week's worth of acclimatization, week and a half, where you were staying around the FOB, Forward Outpost, which was Warhorse, and Aaron talks about that in his book, and which is a huge base now, or was a huge base. I don't know what it is now, and it's just interesting. Like this, I'm just reliving some of my life through some of his stories, and that's how you tell it's a good book. I can just, when he's writing, I can smell Iraq, dude. I can smell Baqubah. I can smell the burning trash. I can smell the dead animals. Like, And to say that it obviously had a negative effect on me, and it had a negative effect on him. But it's easy to be negative, but I can see the positive, and he's seeing the positive. Aaron is trying to tell the story, and in the end, you see the positive note that it's left on his life, and some soldiers, some vets can't see that, and the biggest issue is the effect, how they let their stress affect them is not good. They become alcoholics. They become addicted to different substances. And they commit suicide, which is like the end all effect. I was just talking to Aaron. I was like, it seems like every week a soldier that I served with or a Marine that I served with commits suicide or dies of an overdose. I'm telling you, I try to keep things under wrap, and I smile and I joke, but like it starts to affect you. It's starting to affect me. Like what you think all these different things, and in the end, the only thing I can say is I'm alive, and I'm living the next day. I'm going to college. I got my kids. I got my family. I'm still married to my wife. The best advice I can give to anybody who's soldiers, Marines, whoever, is just stay with it. Life may suck now, but make a plan to make it not suck. Think your way out of it. Suicide is not the answer. Say it's selfish is true. Like, it's selfish, but because you're not thinking about the overall effect it has on the people around you, the people that care about you. So read this book, though. Positive note, read the book. Mainly Digger out.